power is actually in the consistent newsletters. It completely blew up my open rates, completely blew up the revenue that I was seeing generated from my email list because...
Welcome to the Small Town Entrepreneur Podcast. Here, we dive into the challenges and opportunities of starting and growing a business in a small town. Join us each week as we share tips, stories, insights, and strategies to help you build a successful business in your community. We're here to help you spread your awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm Claire Bouvier, and welcome to the Small Town Entrepreneur Podcast. I am so excited to have you here specifically today. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. It's so awesome that you're sharing a little bit of your time today here with us. We have a very special and awesome guest that I have been following for years and really look up to. Her name is Jenna Rainey. She is a talented watercolor artist, designer, published author, releasing her third book, a creative entrepreneur, and she says self-proclaimed, but I would say she is definitely a color theory expert. Jenna has an incredible story of how she turned a box of art supplies into $1 million creative business. She has worked with clients such as Google, Target, and Anthropologie. She's also been featured in numerous publications and has a wealth of experience to share with us. And I'm so excited, if you can't tell in my voice, that she's here with us live today. I really want to thank you for tuning in. Whether you're driving, you're cooking, you're lounging, thank you for being here. Now, there's a lot of topics we could talk to Jenna about. She is a wealth of knowledge and has a lot of different topics, but something that I'm super passionate about, and Jenna is also passionate about, is talking about email. Yes, it might sound not as glamorous as you were hoping at first, but trust me, by the end of this episode, you're going to be thinking, oh yeah, this is it. Email is sexy. It is fun. It's awesome. And we're going to dive in with Jenna behind the scenes of her multi-million-dollar business, of how she's been able to build up her business, which she talks about how having a solid email strategy has saved her business, especially during the pandemic. So without further ado, let's bring on Jenna Rainey. Jenna, welcome to the show. This is so exciting to have you here.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. Before we kick off, for anyone that's watching on the YouTube, I sound like, you have a tent behind you. Do you want to tell us about the tent before we jump in? So for those of you that are listening to the podcast, on the video here, Jenna is matching her tent also. There's a green tent behind her.
Yes, green moments all around today. This is my art studio, and normally there's not a tent behind me, but we are in the middle of a remodel process. Our house is just outside. This is in our backyard. And so we converted this garage a few months ago and then discovered mold in our house. And now we're remodeling the house. So we're all in here, packed in here with my son and my husband. And my son is sleeping in this little tent and he's loving it. He loves it.
Now he's not sleeping in there right now, is he?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, he would not be sleeping.
I was like, okay, we need another podcast on mom tips on how you are doing that.
So impressive. Yeah, no, he's a 4-year-old. He's got lots of energy. So no, he's not sleeping in there.
Awesome. Well, for the listeners today, we are so excited to jump in. And I had talked to you about this earlier. You know, email isn't sexy, but we're going to make it sexy today. We're going to talk about the power of email marketing and why you need it. You must have it in your business. And one of my favorite podcast episodes you did, you write about it, is how email marketing saved your business. Can you give us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I just want to reframe the grassroots, the old style marketing as that is the sexy. That is the sexy marketing. Like there's TikTok, there's Instagram, and sure, that is like what people are doing and it's sexy appeal wise. But for me, it's absolutely saved my business having an email list. So I started my business 10 years ago, back in 2013. And I just heard that every business owner had an email list. So I got a MailChimp account and I had an email list for about 4 or 5 years, just kind of collecting dust, the occasional subscriber here and there for teaching. I teach in-person workshops and all of that, and now online courses, but at the time it was in person. And so for those first 4 years, it was just kind of crickets. I was barely emailing my list. They were barely, staying in touch with me. When I would email, they would unsubscribe because they're like, wait, who are you again? But in 2020, and I was focusing most of my energy content wise on my Instagram, because my Instagram blew up in 2013 to 2018. I was getting 1,000 followers a week, sometimes 1,000 followers a day. It was like the wild, wild west of Instagram when I started. People weren't there was no such thing as the term influencer. And so then 2020 hit and it came to a complete halt. My engagement completely tanked on Instagram. I went from 50,000 story views to 3,000 to 5,000 story views if I was lucky. And so thank God back in 2017 to 2018, I started really researching the power and strategy behind email marketing and started emailing my list regularly, started creating lead magnets and using Pinterest strategy to get organic search traffic to my email list and start growing and actively connecting to people on my email list. And thank God I did, because now over 75% of our revenue is generated through our email list. And if I hadn't had...
Stop. Say that again slowly for our listeners. Yay, I love this.
Over 75% of revenue for our entire business is generated through our email list. And it is about a quarter of the size of my Instagram, a quarter of the size of my YouTube. So yes, it is sexy. Those numbers on Instagram are super sexy. Those numbers on my YouTube channel are super sexy. But the real sexy number is the revenue, and obviously the connection and all the KPIs that we're going to talk about. So yes, I am very, very into email marketing.
So come the pandemic, when you're saying, hey, need some cash flow, you have a whole audience at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing. I talk with so many business owners, entrepreneurs, and they're like, sorry, email list? Oh, I think so. Or like, I emailed someone a couple years ago. So this is the time. Today, you're going to change it. We're jumping in. So I will, full confession, which is ironic because one of the emails Jenna sent out, I can't remember how long ago, and it said, ... I have a confession. I don't know what it was, but I was so excited to open it up, read it, because it felt really intimate, felt personal. And then full disclosure, I stole your tactic, tried it on my email list, 10 times the open rate. So Jenna, you are a genius when it comes to email marketing. I love how you write. You're so authentic. The way you talk right now is the way I can hear your voice coming through in the email campaigns when you're talking. Is there a specific example that you did an email campaign that just whoa, that worked? Something I did. Could you share with the listeners how did you do this? How do you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love hearing that story, by the way. I love, obviously not direct copy of the email body, but my subject lines by all means, because
I have different confessions. I'll be honest.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, as you should. We're different. And we have a lot of funnels going on, a lot of automations going on, a lot of campaigns, like when we're in the middle of a launch, like for an online course, or we're selling something and there's a series of emails that are dripped over a time. And we're always monitoring, deliverability. We're always monitoring open rates, click-through rates, and conversions and stuff like that. But the real power is actually in the consistent newsletters. And when I went from emailing my list every couple of months just to announce hey, I have a workshop, or hey, I'm selling a new thing or offering a new thing, to getting to actually know my email list subscribers and speaking to them how I would speak to a close friend. That's really all the strategy is behind email marketing. And it's really not strategy. It's just, you really actually want to go after connection with people. And so when I was able to focus or shift my focus from, I guess I just use email marketing to announce when I'm doing things and selling things, to let's connect, let's tell stories, let's be relatable, and using that copy, that messaging, literally like how I would speak, it completely blew up my open rates, completely blew up the revenue that I was seeing generated from my email list, because readers want to connect to the human. They want to open emails that they want to read if they're exciting, if they're relatable, if they tell a story. And so I guess a specific example of a successful email campaign would actually come back to the regular weekly emails. Our newsletter emails are definitely like the foundation of anything that we add on top is just flavor, is just like, toppings and sprinkles or whatever. For like when we're in the middle of a sales funnel, you can't have a successful sales campaign without that solid foundation of regular, consistent, reliable, connecting emails.
And I love that because I think that's where the gap is. And maybe you can speak to this. I don't know about you, but I hear a lot, and I felt this. I personally was so insecure about being like, well, they don't want to hear from me every week. Like, that's a lot. I'm like, but then I heard someone say, well, if they don't, they can unsubscribe. And it's the people that want to be there will be there. Can you speak to the ones that are like, I don't know if I have something important to say. I don't know if I should keep talking to them. Should I send something out every week? To elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I totally understand this feeling of like, I don't have anything to say all the time. Like, I'm not a content machine. So, and we're not AI, and we shouldn't be. That's the beauty of this. I love the way technology is going, and I'm excited to see how that unfolds, but we also get to really lean into our humanness and offer that human touch through our emails because we're relatable. We have stories to tell. And one of the things that I think has helped me the most in just like not making it so complicated for myself and for my readers is like, for example, I wrote an email a few months ago about squeezy bottles, or like about the tops of, those freaking soap dispensers. And you're just trying to get it to open. And it's so frustrating. Like, why can't it just twist once and then it opens and then you can push it down and get the soap out? Like, it's so frustrating every time. And just writing that story and then making a little connection about how that applies to something in business or something that's relatable to what I offer, and connecting to my reader in that way. And so it's really just like, you talk to your friends, you call your mom every day, or you call your best friend every day to tell them like, oh, I went to the grocery store today. And you're like, okay, cool. Like, me too.
But there's always these, you're an artist, you see these things around you, and you're taking your day-to-day things that people can relate to. And that's what makes it. And it's all about, and I believe you have a course and you offer things on finding your inner voice, finding that voice. So just a little plug in here. If you haven't checked out Jenna Rainey's website and offerings, she does a lot of workshops and courses that help people with this, depending, no matter where you are in the journey. And I think, Jenna, you really, you're amazing. You have the business brain now, and you're the artist that, full confession, I laid in bed for an hour the other night watching you paint. And I didn't think I liked watercolor. Now I'm obsessed. Now I'm like, oh, you've converted me to watercolor. I was never a watercolor fan. So if anyone wants to check out her just draw or painting, gosh, it was beautiful.
Magical. Watercolor.
Okay. The next topic that I think comes up a lot, and it sounds so, I don't like terms like magnet leads, but at the same time, they're so important, only because I find they really make them sound complicated and they separate it. But really, can you tell us what a magnet lead is and how you use it to really get new people to come in to your empire, to your family, whatever you want to call the Jenna Rainey show?
Right. So we use lead magnets, or you can call them freebies, or some sort of like downloadable offer that they get in exchange for their email list. We do email list and first name because we like to make our emails personal. So someone could obviously opt in or subscribe to your email list without getting anything in exchange, but those little opt-in or subscribe moments on your website or wherever it is that are connected to, hey, you want to download this free checklist or this free online workshop or this free guide to XYZ. Or for example, we have the Complete Beginner's Guide to Watercolor ebook. That's 50 pages, lots of photographs, all that kind of stuff with links to supplies in exchange for an email list. So the thing with a lead magnet strategy is they need to want to actually sign up for it to have to actually give you their email list in exchange for this. And so it has to be irresistible. It has to be something that, if you think about whatever your business is in whatever industry or niche that you're in, what are your top most questions, the burning pain points, the burning desires that your audience has, your specific audience has? make that into a lead magnet. That can be 10 item checklist to get started with stationery design, or that could be a free guide to painting your walls, or DIY this or that, or, whatever that is. We've had over 30 different lead magnets throughout the last few years shuffling through my business. And we've seen success in, a 1 hour free digitizing your art workshop where I'm showing people how to scan and digitize their artwork. And then that leads people into, oh, I now know how to scan and digitize my artwork. So then we're sending them emails that's nurturing them to purchase my course that shows them how to take their scanned and digitized artwork and make it into patterns so that they can become a surface pattern designer. So that's my course, Brand Plus Brand. So a lead magnet is a really core part of your email marketing strategy, because it gives them something so valuable that they go, if her free stuff is this valuable, then her paid stuff, her courses, her products, her whatever, her services must be amazing. So I've got to check.
It is. And I know Amy Porterfield talks a lot about that, right? Mm-hmm. She does a list building, and Jenna Kutcher, they talk a lot about these topics. And it's really cool because you do have irresistible content, and I absolutely love. So how do you maintain, because you said it's really important, how do you maintain these relationships with your subscribers? Because it's easier when you have 50 or 60 people. You kind of know everyone. I love that you said it's like friends and family, and you're like, oh, I know everything about you, so I know how to speak. But when your list gets bigger and bigger, how do you keep nurturing that relationship with your subscribers?
That's a good question. So we use a lot of different strategies because they have to be framed in that way, the bigger your list size gets. And I do want to reframe for people who are maybe like, oh, well, it's easy for you to say because your list is big, or like the dream is to have a huge list or whatever, but you can make a lot of revenue, a lot of impact with a list that's like 200 people or 2,000 people or whatever. So anyway, just to reframe that. But some of the strategies or things that we implement in order to really connect with our audience is using trigger links. So we love to use trigger links. Trigger links are basically, if they click this link, then they get tagged as interested in this particular thing. So if we have a list of maybe 3 different trigger links that's within one email that say, are you interested in learning more about digitizing your art? Click here. Or are you interested in learning more about blogging and SEO? Click here. Are you interested? And so each one of those trigger links, and it could be applicable to any type of topic that you're talking about, are set up in an automated, obviously within your service provider, that when someone clicks link 1 or link 2 or link 3, they are tagged with that applicable tag to that trigger link. And so once they're tagged, that allows us to then segment our audiences in many different ways. At least gives us a pulse on, 40% of the people that opened clicked this versus 20% versus 15% over here or whatever. So then you're looking at your KPIs, your key performance indicators, you're looking at those analytics and that data and seeing, that's how you get to know your audience. Yes, it's numbers. Yes, it's analytics and data, but there's so much that you can find out through that. And that is the best way, one of the best strategies to really get to know your audience. Another great way is by literally just saying, hit reply to this email. And people don't know what they don't know. They're not going to think that there's going to be someone on the other side of that email, like actually wanting to read the response or replying back to them. And we always, someone on our team, at least either me or Kelly, is always responding back to whoever responds to our emails. And so
I know you do.
Yes.
This is how this happened.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And so it's just really important for us to have a good idea of what our people are struggling with, what they're connecting to when we're writing these emails and all of that. So those are a couple different ways.
And I love all this. And I think some people that are just totally new to starting this, they might be thinking, oh my gosh, Jenna, this is so overwhelming. Like, how did you get here? And I will reassure, and you probably can speak to this, you start just what you know, what you can, an email list, right? And let's step back. When you first start up your email list, what are, so that you're doing it properly and you're not just sending out something and you're like, oh, no one's opening it. What are some key performance indicators? So if someone was to start building out their email list, what are things that you've noticed that you can look at to really track and measure success? What are things that you really look for? Because there's so much data out there. We can grab anything. And now you can take every piece of anything you have and spit into like ChatGPT or any AI, and it'll say, summarize your data. So it's great. But what are the things that are really important for you and for looking at your list, Jenna?
So especially if you're just getting started with email marketing, the number one metric to look at is your deliverability rate, your delivery rate. And that's one of, I think, the most overlooked parts of email marketing is like, are my emails actually getting delivered? If it's not over 90% delivery rate, then there's something off. It could be maybe you just recently migrated email list providers, like you were at MailChimp and you wanted something more robust and you switched to something more robust like ConvertKit or ActiveCampaign or something. Or it could be that you're using really spammy marketer bro email copy and subject lines. There's a lot of different reasons why delivery rate can tank. And those are a couple of reasons. And so there's strategy behind that too, in getting people to click and open your emails. So delivery rate is always a big focus and something that is really, really important if you're just getting started. And then another really big, really important metric is your open rates. So this is where subject lines are very, very important and something that I love writing subject lines.
You're
think that's
good. You're really good at it. Like you suck me in every week.
Thank you. I really, really love it. I really love writing subject lines. And my operations manager, Kelly, is also really good at writing subject lines too, if I forget to write them for specific emails. But open rate is so important. So writing a good subject line that's going to hook them, or say something like, ooh, this sounds like gossip, or you know what?
I think that's what it is. It's amazing. Your girlfriend wrote you, updating you on the in.
Exactly. Yeah. So open rates and then click-through rates. If people aren't clicking on the link in the body of your email, then they're not clicking to go see your website. Then we need to reword the copy of whatever that click is, or the copy of the email, or the height in the email body. If it's too low, maybe people aren't seeing it right away or whatever. So the click-through rate is also really important. And the average open rate is roughly about 25 to 30%.
Okay.
In any industry, kind of broadly speaking, we've always had an insanely high open rate. We have roughly 60 to 75% open rate, which is insane. It's a really insane open rate.
That's actually wild, especially when you're as big as you are with your subscriber list. I was thinking more like 15 to 20, 70%. Okay. That's huge. That's amazing.
Yeah. Some of our emails, like if it's in the middle of a sales campaign, get dipped down to like 50% or 49%. But most of our emails are in the 60 to 75% range for open rates. And that is hands down because of the consistency and the relationship that I've built, but then also subject lines and the way you write the copy.
Totally. And like I said, this is why we're here today. This is why I'm so excited to invite you on, because you are the guru of this space and I absolutely love it. And let's leave our readers, listeners, our audience with 3 takeaways. So Jenna, if someone's just starting out, maybe they're refreshing, maybe they're migrating, and like you said, it's collecting dust and they're giving a new life as spring starts. What are the 3 steps you would tell someone to improve their email marketing strategy to see real positive results today?
Yeah. So first off, sorry if you can hear the buzzsaw from all the renovations going on. Oh, good. That's amazing. Okay. So first tip is write better emails. I learned this from my good friend, Jen Olmstead. She owns Tonic Site Shop. She does help design our website. I love her templates and all of that, but she's a very good email copy writer person. She's an ex-journalist anyway. So she says, I read this blog a few months ago and it's totally what I was already doing, but just not aware, was start in the middle of the story that you're telling. Start in the middle of the story that you're telling in the email, and then even grabbing something that's right in the middle of the story for the subject line so that you hook the person's attention. For example, it could be, I dropped my lunch in front of the entire cafeteria and I've never been the same, or something like that. And then you're just like, what? I got to read this.
That has happened to me. So how did you know?
Same. It's relatable. That's why you're writing about it. So write better emails that are telling the story from the middle of the story and that are relatable. Obviously, dropping lunch in the cafeteria, everybody knows butt clench. Like that's the response for everyone reading. And then number 2 is to write more consistent emails. So to focus on those weekly newsletters. If you can't manage, like bandwidth wise, time wise, if you can't manage weekly newsletters, just get real with yourself and find the consistency that you can manage. So that could be bi-monthly. I would say anything less than bi-monthly is going to get like a little tricky because you do really want to prioritize email marketing because again, with the reliability, the no algorithm aspect, all of that, it is very, very important. And so like anything less than 2 times a month, I think is just, it's kind of worthless. So
it's
anything
the dust collecting email list.
Yeah, it's the dust collector. So I do weekly, but we also have a welcome sequence. So anytime somebody new comes to our email list, they're getting 30 emails from me, and then they're getting my weekly emails.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, a long welcome sequence is important.
Yeah, I've never heard 30 emails. You, like I said, you need 2.0, the email course from Jenna Rainey.
We're working on it, actually.
Okay.
We're working on it.
I'm like, I'm ready to pay. Give it to me.
Yeah. So write more consistent emails, write emails that start in the middle of a story and hook the attention. And then the third tip would be value. So make their jaw drop with the free stuff. So it's a no-brainer when you go to pitch whatever it is you offer. So we do that really heavily. That's why our welcome sequence is so long, is because every email is either providing some sort of education or some sort of maybe free checklist that I use over here that they didn't sign up for over here. Or something in return, like resources and tips. So for 30 emails, they're receiving value, not being sold to. And once they're finished with that, even if I'm in the middle of a launch, I will not move them over in between their welcome sequence. If they're still going through it, I will not move them over. They will not be paused on the welcome sequence. They will go through it completely, and then they'll be launched to, because they're not ready. They need to be nurtured.
I love that. I was wondering about that. You are awesome, Jenna. And I know you like the work that you do, you can see it, 60 to 70% open rate. That speaks volumes, right? So before we end the show today on the Small Town Entrepreneur, Jenna Rainey, you are fantastic. You're such an inspiration to people all around the world, not only just for being an amazing artist, but also for leading and helping people in, realizing they can build a business, they can, achieve the dreams and goals and financial success they want to. What's next for Jenna Rainey? What's coming down the pipeline?
Well, I've been writing my third how-to watercolor book, Everyday Watercolor Seashores, and that launches March 2024. And so we're working on a couple different like companion courses with my Everyday Watercolor series. They're just going to be for watercolor artists to help them go through the book, kind of like just as a side-by-side. And then also, because I am a Gemini, I'm dually very, very, very passionate about business along with art. And so I also have this dual audience where I have artists only and also business owners. And so because I am into email marketing and helping business owners really, really build sustainable online businesses and kind of pivot and go with the flow as things change. That's something that's in the pipeline for early next year as well. Early 2024, we're planning on launching a really in-depth online, teaching people online course strategy, teaching people email marketing strategy, all the kind of like online business stuff. So those are the updates.
I love it. And I hope down the road we can have you again on for more updates to hear where you're at. I will say, and I'm very excited, this is totally spur of the moment because this is my personality, the ADHD in me. We're chatting. I have your book. I love it. I need to get another copy for myself, but we're going to be the first person that sends an email and rocks a title that is one of the best titles for this podcast. I'm going to mail the book to you. And Jenna, we'll make sure we share the title, what they come up with for this podcast. Yes. And we'll see how it goes. It will be the newsletter of the week.
That is fun. Look at you. I love that.
I love fun things. I love spontaneous things. So this works. Jenna, you're fantastic. Thank you so much for giving time to our audience. And I hope that we can connect again soon.
Of course. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.